Hello everyone, in this video we are gonna have a look at navigation in our Flutter applications. Let's have a look at our demo. We are gonna make an application and we're gonna use navigation 1.0 in this example. This is a two-part series. We are first gonna talk about navigation 1.0 and then navigation 2.0, sorry. So we're gonna look at how we can pass data between screens, how we can navigate between screens. We are also gonna see how we can push data back when we move back to our previous screen, as we see here, option 2, and the data comes back from our previous screen. So many things to cover in this session. Let's go into the demo. So before we dive into our coding example here, let's first have a short talk about navigation. As I said before, there are two flavors of navigation. You have navigation 1.0, which is more of an imperative way of navigating between screens. It's a very simple technique to navigate between screens. You basically push a new screen to your to the front, and you pop away the screen when you want to go back to a previous screen. It's a stack of screens, and the last screen that comes in is also the first one to go out. As I said, it's a very easy technique to use. Usually this technique of navigating is used in smaller applications, like proof of concept applications and things like that. There's also navigation 2.0, and it's not really an upgrade of the previous navigation way. It's a different way, and it also has to do with web development, which is a different way of navigating between screens, of navigating through your application. But we are going to cover that in another video. So keep in mind, navigation 1.0 is for basic applications, and navigation 2.0 it's for more complex applications, web applications based on Flutter, things like that. It will give more clarity of your navigation routes and stuff like that. All right, so we have our very simple demo application here. Let's clean it up a little bit by removing this boilerplate code, as we always do. Removed a little bit too much, so let's go back a little bit. Actually, we are gonna keep some things here. We are gonna keep all of this. That's gonna go. There we go. Let's remove some of these comments here. That we have our theme, and then here we are gonna put our first screen. So that's gonna be screen 1. There we go. Let's create a new Dart file, and that's gonna be called screen1.dart. Here we are going to import our material library. There we go. And we are gonna create a very simple stateless widget, and this is gonna be screen 1. There we go. So let's see if this works. There we go. So this is our first screen. Okay, so I just started our application here. So we start with a very black screen. Let's make a scaffold out of this, and this will return or have a child. No, not a child. This will have a background color. Let's give it a color of amber. There we go. And the body is going to be a container. There we go. And this will have a column. And let's put this in the center. There we go. And maybe our column maybe we will also put the main axis, the main axis alignment also to the center, so everything will be aligned nicely in the center. And then in our children, we are gonna put text widget screen 1, there we go, and this will have a style. Text style, and the color is gonna be white. Let's just close the widget inspector here. And the font size is gonna be 25 or something. All right, so that is our first screen. Maybe make that a little bit bigger. There we go, that's good. What can we also do? We can also add a constant, make a constant out of this. Let's just there we go. So that looks a little bit better. Let's remove our container here because that doesn't really have use. And what we also will need to have a button, because we need to click on something to go to our next screen. And currently we just have a text label screen 1, which we can't click. What we can do is we can also obviously make this text clickable by wrapping it in an inkwell, and then you can also click it, but you can also just make a text button out of this. And then what we will need to do is this will need to have a child, and this is gonna be our text, and that looks almost right. Let's see. Screen 1, text style, and this is for our text style, and this is for our text widget. Oh, it actually says that we are missing our onPressed. So onPressed, there we go, and just let's do it like this. And now it says that it can't be a const anymore. There we go. There we go, and we can make a const out of this text widget here, and this looks about right. So now our screen 1 is clickable. Very good. What we will need to do now is we will need to create a new screen, and we are going to be a bit lazy, and we are just going to copy this, and we are going to create a new screen, screen2.dart. There we go. And we are going to rename this to screen 2. There we go. All right, so this is about all that we want to do here. What we are going to do now is we are gonna input the command to navigate to the second screen. And for this, we are gonna use navigator. And here we have to look up the navigator in the context. It's an inherited widget, so we can look that up, and then we can say push. So there's the pop. The pop is to go back to the previous screen or to pop the latest screen on our mobile device. We are gonna do a push, and as you see, it is requesting us a route. This can be a material page route, Cupertino page route for the iOS devices. I'm gonna put here the material page route. There we go. And here we need to input our context. And then we are gonna say return const screen 2. There we go. Let's see what it is saying. So it's saying that screen 2 is not a class, which is a bit weird. Let's see, screen 2. And it says that we need to make it const. Okay, that's good. And somewhere here it's missing a semicolon. So let's see where exactly that we need to put that. There we go. All right, this looks good. What we do want to do is we want to change the color of our second screen a little bit so that we know that we navigated away. And let's what we can also do is we can just add a text here as a different child in our column. You arrived. You are on screen 2. There we go. Let's also make a const out of this. And maybe just copy the same style here because we had it here anyway. There we go, and make it a little bigger maybe. We'll see how it turns out. All right, so let's click on screen 1 here. There we go. So as you see, we moved to our second screen. You arrived on screen 2, and here it says screen 1 still. And with that, we want to do something. Great. All right. What we want to do now is we want to add another text button. Let me just put this a little bit like this here. We are gonna add a new text button, and this text button is gonna say go back, something like that. And let's save this. There we go. Maybe a different color. Yellow maybe. Yeah, that's okay. All right. And to go back to our previous screen, as I said before, the navigation is like a stack. And every time you open up a new screen, or when you push a new screen to the stack, you need to call the pop function to remove the latest screen from that stack. And then automatically you return back to your previous screen. That's how it works. So how do we pop that screen? Let's do that here. There we have navigator of context. We look up the navigator and then we say pop. There we go. So this is the way that we do that. If I click on go back, we will go back to our previous screen. And if I click back on screen 1, we arrive back on our second screen. Now, the way that this is written, there's also a bit of an easier way to write that. And it's different. It looks a little bit different, but I personally think it looks a little bit cleaner. So this you can also do navigator.pop context. So when I put this in comment here, there we go. And when I click on it, this will still work. There we go. All right, another thing that I want to show you now is that you can also push data between these screens. And it's quite easy to do. Let's say, for example, that we want to receive a name here from our previous screen, and we want to show this on this screen here. What we can do then is we can add here a new variable, let's say name. There we go. And we are also going to add it in here. This needs to be a required parameter. There we go. And so this screen is now accepting a name. We go back to screen 1. As you can see here, it says the named parameter name is required, but we are not providing it yet. So we are gonna pause this here. We're gonna say John. There we go. And now we can actually use this here. Hello. So we need to remove our const here. There we go. And here it's complaining a little bit. There we go. And here we also don't need the braces. All right, so let's have a look if this is working. So let's go back. Let's click on screen 1. So this is not yet working. So let's restart the application. All right, so let's test now if this works. There we go. So here it says, hello, John, you are on screen 2. And as you can see, this looks a little bit too big. So we go to screen 2 and we make it a little bit smaller. Still a little bit smaller. There we go. So now it says, hello, John, you are screen 2. So this John text, it's coming from the parameter that we passed when we were pushing the new screen to the app here. All right. So in the beginning, I talked about Navigator 1.0 and Navigator 2.0, imperative versus declarative way of navigating. Now, I also said that for basic application, this would be all right. The problem here is that we are in these different widgets, in these different screens, and we are just at random calling new screens and things like that. And this can be a little bit problematic. There's no centralization of how the navigation goes and to which screens do we go from where and things like that. So if you are with multiple developers, this can be very complicated to understand what the screen flow exactly is. Navigator 2.0 also solves this, but within Navigator 1.0, there's also a way to centralize the routes, the screens in a clear way. And that's what we're going to look at now. And that's called named routes. And the named routes, they are actually created in the material app, and this is in our main here. So we are going to do this here. Currently, we just have the home property here, and it basically says, okay, go to the first screen. What we will do now is in here, we will define our routes that our application can have. The first route, you can see it as our root, our base. That's where we go. And that's equal also to the home property, by the way. Let's call the context here. And then we have to say const screen1, because this is our first screen. Our second screen is then, sorry, I forgot something here. There we go. That fixes a lot. And then our second screen is screen 2. And this will go to const screen 2. There we go. Now you see that we also have to provide our parameter here, and if we do it via the named route, that's gonna be a bit more problematic. So we're gonna talk about that in a moment, how we can work with parameters in named routes. But for now, let's just remove this, and I'm also gonna remove that parameter from here for a moment, and also from here, and then also from here again. Yeah, then it will also be back, sorry, const here. There we go. And here screen 1, we will have to remove our parameter there as well. There we go. All right, another thing that I usually also do is I don't like to have these values over here. I would like to keep them in my screen. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put here static const. And this is gonna be screen, sorry, this is gonna be route name, and then this is our first screen. There we go. And this is gonna be our second screen, screen 2. There we go. And then you can basically here say, okay, screen 1 dot route name, and here that's gonna be screen 2 dot route name. So this looks a bit cleaner to me. Now, if you want to move from one screen to another, this is gonna look a little bit different. Before we pushed a material route, and there we then returned our screen. Now we are gonna remove this. We are still gonna work with our navigator, but here we are gonna say, instead of push, we are gonna say pushed named. And the context will keep that obviously, and then here we can say screen 2 dot route name. There we go. All right, let's go back to our first screen here, and we have to restart our app for a moment. I see that for some reason dart.html was added here. So let's remove that here. And let's restart our app. Oh yeah. So this is something that I also had to mention. As I said before, I was expecting this error. So we currently have a problem here because we have defined our routes. And as I said before, the base or the first screen that we had, this is equal to this this home property here. And so that's a problem because we have two conflicting things and you can only have one of both. So what we're going to do is we are going to remove the home property. We are going to save this, and then we are looking at a working application again. So when we click on screen 1, you will see that it navigates to screen 2. Let's go back real quick. So screen 1, here we have navigator.pushNamed, and then we are referencing the second screen, and this static value here, that's this one. So that's how we move to our second screen. All right, now if we want to um, pass arguments between screens, as I said before, with the push and the pop, there's a way to push arguments in the constructor of the second screen. Here I'm going to show a different example how we can pass arguments in named routes. For this, I'm going to create a quick model. I'm just going to call it screen data.dart. It's going to be a simple class. Language, for example, screen data, this dot name, and this dot language. All right, so we have a very simple model, and this is the thing that we want to pass between our applications. Let's say, for example, that we want to accept these parameters or these arguments in screen 2, as we did before. What we are going to do is we are going to say final param, for example, and here we are going to call the model route of context, and then we are going to call the settings, and from the settings we are going to grab the arguments as screen data. There we go. So it's complaining here about screen data. There we go. So now it's added. All right, let's close this for a moment here. And then we are gonna say hello param let's just continue this here. Let's just close our application for a sec here and see what we are doing wrong here. ModalRoute of context, settings argument as screen data. Our screen data is known. This is our model. Right, so maybe let's first go to our screen 1, and here in this screen we need to push our argument. So let's add those arguments, and then we are gonna say screen data. There we go, and this is gonna be John, and John is gonna speak English. There we go. And let's see if we are more successful here now. Nope, there is something wrong here. Let's remove the const here. There we go. All right, so this looks a little bit better now. Sorry for the trial error here, but that sometimes happens. There we go. All right, so let's start up our application again. Okay, so we have started up our application. Let's see if it works. Let's click on screen 1. And now we see that it says here John and the language English. Hello John, you're on screen 2. So what happened before with the null warnings that we were getting is that the Dart analyzer checked our code and it actually knew that nothing was coming in, and that was kind of the problem. It was expecting parameters that were not there. So because when we added these arguments here, screen data, the second screen knew that parameters were coming in and it would not be null. And then we could use the parameters in our screen here. So that's that. All right. Another way that we can also retrieve the arguments, because now we have used this ModalRoute, basically took the arguments from the active route. That's what it did there, using the settings property over here. Another way is to do it via the main function. So let's have a look at that now. All right, so let's first do some things here. We have to add something here on generate route, and here we are gonna get our settings back. So that's the same settings that we were talking about before with our model route. And here we can say if settings dot name equals screen 2 dot route name. So here we are saying if we are currently on the second screen, then we are gonna work with our arguments as screen data. There we go. So we're gonna take the arguments and we are gonna return a material page route of context. There we go. And here we then basically can return our screen 2, and we can add some values here. So here you can also say, for example, const string name, for example, required this dot name, sorry, final here, there we go. And then we can use this again. And now it's just gonna be our name variable there. And add our name there. There we go. There we go. What we also will need to do is we will remove this here, because that doesn't have any use anymore. Let's restart our application. There we go. So let's go over it quickly now. On our main, we added our OnGenerateRoute, and this is a thing that will take up those arguments, and it will then pass the arguments to the screen via material page route. And keep in mind that on screen 1 we still have that arguments here where we pass that object containing John, and that's how it gets shown here on the second screen. Alright, the final thing that I would like to look at is a way to retrieve data from a screen. So whenever you pop a screen, you can also return data back to your previous screen. So that's something that we are going to look at now. All right, so let's maybe first add some things here. Maybe let's make option 1 out of this here, option 1, and this will be option 2. So we are gonna give our user some options that he or she can click. Let's make this then similar. There we go, option 1, option 2. And here we have our navigator pop context. So this is already gonna push us back to the previous screen. I'm gonna put that navigator also in here. And the thing that we can extra add here is also an argument. So as you can see, if you hover over the pop, you see that it can also have arguments there. So, or result. What we are going to add here is option 1, and here we are gonna add option 2, and then on our first screen we will need to do something else here, because before we just pushed to the second screen, but now we will need to wait to get some value back. So this is going to be an asynchronous operation, so you will need to put the async keyword here. There we go. And now we will also store our option in a value like this. And here we also will need to use the await keyword, because as I said before, we are going to wait until we get something back from our previous screen. And then we can also let's push a message to the screen. For this we have our scaffold messenger of context. That's good. And let's say show snack bar, and we are gonna create a new snack bar here, and the content is going to be you chose, and here we are going to use our option that we just returned from our previous screen. There we go. Obviously I also need to put this in text, otherwise it's gonna look a little bit difficult. There we go. So let's try this out. Let's click on option 2. And there we go. So here it says you chose option 2, and now it says you chose option 1. So that's a way how you can return data from a screen, and if you pop that screen, return result back to your previous screen. All right. Good. So let's quickly summarize what we have looked at. We have looked at the very simple push and pop of a screen. Push is when you add a new screen to your application, to the front, the screen that you're looking at. And if you pop the screen, then it will remove from the stack and you will look at your previous screen again. We also looked at how you could move arguments from one screen to another via several different ways. We also looked at named routes here, and named routes is a way to centralize your route creation more, and you have a better overview of it. Navigator 2.0 is going to go a step further with that, and we are going to talk about that in a next video. Alright, if you like this video, please let me know by clicking that like button, clicking that subscribe button, leaving a comment. I would really appreciate your feedback. Thanks a lot and have a nice day. Bye bye.